Well guys, this is it. This is the end. The Last of Us on HBO after 9 episodes and 7 and some hours of TV show, it's over. Let's do the review, and before I get into it, please note that first of all I will spoil the crap out of this show. Second of all, I'm so sorry because there are only images in my review. You have no idea how many times I got copyright strike for this TV show. I'm just tired of it. And third of all, if you are a fan of this show, well, I have to say that I'm not going to say really positive things about it. Let's see what happens. But for the sake of the audience, I'm gonna start with positive things, and to be honest, I don't want to be hard on this show. There were lots of positive things about it. First of all, as far as the video games adaptations go, The Last of Us TV show was one of the best things I've ever watched. It was loyal to the game and the storyline, and even though it was the case, the changes that it made throughout the TV show, they actually worked. Episode 3 was the first time that the show took another direction compared to the game, and it was wonderful. The other thing that they changed was the way that the virus spread out. That was a bit different also compared to the game, and again, it was a positive change. Pedro Pascal was really good choice as Joel, and he did a great job. I can't say the same thing about Ellie, more on that later, but I mean, come on, Pedro Pascal killed it. Unlike what I expected, there were not huge real-world references, which would compromise obviously the show, because many references in a show does not age well. So I was really happy about the references, and plus there were not a lot of social commentaries that would again not age well. Now let's talk about the negative parts. Well, there is one thing that created most of the bad stuff, so I'm gonna say it and get it over with. This show made a mistake that normally the video game adaptations make, and they took their audience for granted. When video game adaptations take their audience for granted, they don't pay a lot of attention to the world development. They just do what they are doing, and they don't know that this world that they are working on, it needs to be built, and the characters must be defined, and the elements of the world should be defined. So the show, even though in the first 2 episodes did a wonderful job, the rest were a bit off. The other thing that I disliked about the show was the countless of flashbacks that happened in the show. Those flashbacks killed the momentum every single time they happened. You know, in the first 2 episodes, the flashbacks were crucial to the world building and the character development, and they had payoffs. And most importantly, they were short. But as the 3rd episode started, the flashbacks did not offer almost anything to the show. They were so long as well. You can check my review about the 3rd episode. I loved it, and still I believe that it was the best and the worst episode of the show. I don't want to say what I said before, but to wrap it up really fast, I said the 3rd episode did not offer anything to the main storyline. It was just something that could have been easily retracted from the show. But if I wanted to compare episode 3 with episode 7, which was by far the worst episode of the show, I will say that episode 3 wins every single time. Episode 7 was just awful. In a very crucial moment, when the show had the momentum, we had a filler episode. An episode that did not do anything and completely derailed this story. You know, I can say the same thing about the first minutes of the finale as well. I actually did not care and wanted to know why Ellie was immune. And again, like episode 7, this could have been easily pointed out in season 2 of the show. In the game, we never know what happened to Ellie and how it played out, but I don't want the show to answer to the questions that people never asked, and plus, the show wants us to believe that no one else experienced the same thing that Ellie went through. I mean, you want to tell me that there was not any other pregnant woman that got bitten by a zombie at that point? I don't buy it. In overall, all these back and forth of the show, these flashbacks, they just killed the momentum, and we never got to see the character development. For example, in the finale, when Joel went on that rampage at the end, I did not feel that this guy can pull this off. As I said, Pedro Pascal was wonderful in the role, but he wasn't brutal enough in the show that could convince me that this guy can do this thing, do this monstrous thing that just going on a killing spree and kill these many guys. In a few words, the character was not ripe yet. The character was not there yet. The other thing that I disliked about the show was the casting. As I said, Pedro Pascal was great, but I know that this is a bit controversial, but I still think that Bella Ramsey was not a great choice for the show. She did grew on me more at the end. She did not have that star power needed for the show. But the worst choices were about the villains. Kathleen, she was just awful. One of the worst actings I've ever seen. David, again, was awful. David the Cannibal, he had a great storyline, and by the way, they wrapped up that storyline really fast. It was really interesting. It was just in one episode. It could have been a great moment in Ellie's life, but they just ran past through it. I don't know why they did that, and David was not a great choice. The actor, of course. And in final words, I have to say that whenever the show tried to step on the traces of the game, it worked perfectly. You know, in the first episode especially, with everything that happened with Sarah, or the episode with Sam and Henry, it was good as well. Or maybe the only time that they did their own thing and it worked was about Bill and Frank, because that episode was wonderful. I don't know why, but at the end I did not feel that this show was great. If I were to say the biggest problem of the show was that the show distracted itself many times and it didn't keep us on one single storyline. And worst of all, many of the things that they did, they were not even necessary. So many flashbacks, they didn't have any payoffs or they didn't offer anything to the story. And yeah, that's it. Tell me, what did you think about The Last of Us Season 1? Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Again, I'm so sorry for the only images in my review. I am so sick and tired of copyrights. So tell me what did you think about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and introduce me to your friends maybe. Thank you. Goodbye.